Hello students, welcome back to the channel Yanimam. Today we learn about a Indian poet Rabindranath Tagore's famous poem Where the Mind is Without Fear. Now let's start. This poem is written by 1912 Rabindranath Tagore before India's independence. It represents Tagore's vision of a new and awakened India. The original poem was published in 1910 in Tagore's own translation in its 1912 English editions. This poem is the 25th poem of Gitanjali and one of the Tagore's most antagonist poems. It is an expression of poet's reflective spirits and contains a simple prayer for his country. Now, I tell you about the Rabindranath Tagore. He was one of the greatest Indian poets born in 1861 in Calcutta, in India. He started writing poetry early and published several books in 1913. He becomes the first non-European to win the Nobel Prize in Literature. He died in 1941 in Calcutta. In this poem, Rabindranath Tagore expresses his love for his country and praise to the Almighty for its well-being. In his prayer, the poet says that his countrymen should not live in fear anymore and must do away with the evil of society. They must live without respect, dignity, honesty, and perfection. He prays to God for the freedom of nation. Now, let's see about the structure of the poems. The poem has been written in one single sentence and free verse. The language is simplified. Metaphor and personification has been used a lot of. Now, before we start the poems, I tell you about the short note of the poem. The poet envisions India as a country where the people live without any kind of fear and hold their head high with pride, dignity, and self-reliance. He also says that the knowledge should be attained without any restrictions. There should be no discriminations based on caste, creed, race, and religion. India must reach towards its goal to attain freedom and being an ideal nation. The countryman curse poses noble thoughts and do away with all the superstitious beliefs that define logic and reason. The poet prays to God, seeking his support and guidance for country. To have noble thoughts and actions, he asks God to awake them into his heaven like place of an independent nation in whole poetry. Now, what is the theme of the poem? The theme of the poem is patriotic in nature. The poet Rabindranath Tagore expresses his love for his country and speaks about the vision he has for India and its people. So, about this poem, he gives us an idea about the kind of life of people were living during the British rule. The straitening rules, politics, and economical and political uncertainty were some of the factors that caused fear in the mind of Indians. They could not live a respectful life in their own country. Obtaining a proper education was restricted for various classes of the society, causing illiteracy among people and making them believe in superstitions. The British used the divide and rule policy against the Indians to make them fight among themselves. There was discriminations based on caste, creed, race, and religion. It was during this struggle for independence, the poet says that he envisioned a country where there is no fear in the mind of people and education is attained by all. The people are enlightened and do not create walls of discriminations. He wants countrymen to be honest and thoughtful. Rabindranath Tagore prays to God, seeking his guidance for attaining independence and awakening his countrymen that the beautiful heaven of freedom. Now, the first line of the poem is Poet, of which is the title itself holds a very significant meaning, and that is where the mind is without fear and the head is held high. It means fear in this line refers to the fear included in the mind of Indians about under the British rules. Here, the poet is speaking about the miserable life led by people dominated by the British. The poet envisions India and a country where the people's minds are free from fear and they live a dignified life and free life. He also wants to convey that freedom can be obtained only when the mind is fearless and he had the held high with respect and dignity. In this line, where knowledge is free, the poet says that the gaining independence would also give them the freedom to acquire knowledge and be self-reliant, which was restricted during the British rule, where the world has not been broken up into the fragments by the narrow domestic walls. Here the poet speaks in the next line, in the another line of the poem, the Rabindranath Tagore speaks about the various evils that crept into the society at that time. And that is the British used the divide and rule policy and allow two domestic walls and narrow domestic walls refers to the wall of religion, race, caste, creed created and by the people. It may also refers to the various superstitious beliefs and that prevailed in the society during that time of British. Now, another line of the poem is where words come out from the depth of the truth. Impile says that the poet envisions his countrymen to live their lives with honesty and utmost of truth, where tireless striving stretches its arms towards perfections. In the line of personifications has been used for tireless striving. The Rabindranath Tagore wants to convey a message that one's goal should be to attain perfection. For example, to be an ideal country and all those years of struggle would finally reach its goal of attaining freedom and perfection. At the end of the poem, where the clear stream of reason has not lost its way into the dreary desert sounds of dead habit, the poet uses a term which name is metaphor for reason and habit. He refers to reason as a clear stream that is pure and not the contaminated. Here, he is speaking about the thought of people which he says should be clear, noble, honest, and free from all sorts of corruption. The poem of Rabindranath Tagore, that is the dreary desert sands of dead habit. It means also refers to the evil in the society, like the superstitious practices that lack logic and the reason, where the mind is led forward into ever-winding thought and action into that heaven of freedom. My father, let my country awake. Now, the Rabindranath Tagore prays to God, to the Almighty God, for its guidance and support to attain independence for his country, India. The poet wishes to countrymen to be led forward by their noble thoughts and actions. He refers to a freedom as a heavenly place and addresses God as a father, as a creator, asking him to awake his people and help them to reach these glorious places. Thank you so much for listening. Yanim.